It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Little Rock Sustainability Hour, brought to you by the Little Rock Sustainability Commission. Today we will discuss sustainability in and around Little Rock. Our goal is to educate and inform you on how we can all become better stewards of the community and city we live in.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Little Rock Sustainability Hour, a Little Rock Sustainability Commission project in collaboration with the Sustainability Office. My name is Karen Zucardi. I chair the Little Rock Sustainability Commission and I am also the host of this show. As a disclaimer, my opinions and comments during this show are mine only. They do not represent the views of my employer. The Little Rock Sustainability Commission decided to create this space for our community because we believe in the power of sustainability. We believe in the importance of financial sustainability for the city and local governments, as well for our families and ourselves. We believe in the importance of taking care of our planet and each other. Sustainability is an invaluable practice that can help us achieve better standards of living without jeopardizing or depleting the resources our kids and grandkids will need in the future. So let's remember that Little Rock is a diverse city. To be inclusive, some of our sections will also be in Spanish. Hola querida comunidad latina de Little Rock, muchas gracias por sintonizar este programa donde hablamos de sostenibilidad en todas sus formas. Como ya saben, mi nombre es Karen Zucardi y los estaré acompañando durante el transcurso del programa. Hoy vamos a tener un tema súper interesante. Vamos a hablar de la conexión que existe entre sostenibilidad y nuestra salud y también entre sostenibilidad y nuestro bienestar. ¿Te has preguntado qué tienen estas cosas en común? Bueno, hoy vamos a hablar de todo esto. Y como bono, también vamos a hablar un poco sobre la conexión que existe entre sostenibilidad y pandemias. Espero que aprendas mucho con esta información. As we have discussed in other shows, the meaning of sustainability varies among people. In addition, there are some important areas of our lives that we often don't connect with sustainability. And what subjects are those? Well, today we will help connect the dots between sustainability and our environment, sustainability and health, and sustainability and our wellness. Finally, we will be discussing a popular topic these days, pandemics, and the relationship with sustainability. Are those two related? Are they even related at all? Today, we will find out together. We are going to learn a ton of important, interesting, and handy information. Before we get deep into today's show, I want to remind everyone how the Commission is structured. The Little Rock Sustainability Commission has 5 working teams. They are energy, education and community outreach, transportation, waste and reduction, and environment, health, and wellness. Since sustainability is such a broad subject, the Commission has these working teams to help us advance in these specific areas. Having these teams is also quite useful for the Commission because we use our Commissioners' unique skills and passions in these specific subjects. If you are interested in learning more about how to get involved, please reach out to the Sustainability Office at recycling@littlerock.gov. Also, please follow us on social media. Sustain Little Rock is on Facebook and Instagram. We share valuable information for the Little Rock community on our social media platforms. You can also hashtag LRSC for Little Rock Sustainability Commission. You can also do LRSH for Little Rock Sustainability Hour. You can also hashtag SustainLR and UniteLR. We want to hear from you. Today we have a lot of important information and a lot of things to discuss. So let's get comfortable and let's get started. We are going to hear the terms environment, health, wellness, and pandemic often during the show. So I am going to define these terms real quick, and when you hear them, we will all know what we are talking about. Environment. The environment is the natural world of land, sea, air, plants, and animals. Health. The World Health Organization defines health as the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Wellness. The Global Wellness Institute defines wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that leads to a state of holistic health. So, as you could see, the definitions of both health and wellness mention the other within the definition, further showing the importance and impact of each on the other. Pandemic. The World Health Organization defines a pandemic as an epidemic occurring worldwide, crossing international boundaries, and usually affecting many people. Okay, y'all, keep these terms in mind. Since we're going to be connecting the dots between sustainability and our environment, sustainability and our health, and sustainability and our wellness, we are going to have specific segments dedicated to each of these areas. But before we get there, I want to begin by telling you what the Environment, Health, and Wellness team does at the Commission. This team is one of the most dynamic and engaging teams we have. Their monthly meeting is joined by commissioners and private citizens interested in the matter. Remember, if you want to get involved with the Sustainability Commission, please shoot us an email at recycling@littlerock.gov. The Environment, Health, and Wellness team is led by Commissioner Uda Meyer. This team studies and advises on sustainability issues related to maintaining and preserving our air, soil, water, and natural resources, and improving the general well-being of Little Rock residents. Many definitions of sustainability refer to the three pillars of social, environmental, and economic pillars. Many sustainability issues are complex and involved because these three pillars often overlap and interact. Environment, health, and wellness speaks to the interaction of these pillars and their application in everyday life. An improved natural environment and an increased quality of life in a community go hand in hand and should be considered a unit during community assessment and planning. For example, improving an area of green space in a neighborhood with better accessibility, valuable amenities increases the quality of life for residents. The impact of this improvement could be twofold if the removal of invasive species and addition of native plants were incorporated into the project. The green space would now be better served for residents by supplying a safe, accessible outdoor area and better serve insects and wildlife. So now that we have a better understanding on what this team does within the Commission, let's talk about the relationship that sustainability has between our environment, health, and well-being. I will break this section down into smaller segments, which will allow us to have a better understanding on both the positive and negative impacts that sustainability, or the lack thereof, has in our everyday lives. If you're interested in learning more about any of these subjects, please let us know by emailing us at recycling@littlerock.gov. The first segment that I want to discuss is the relationship between sustainability and the environment. This is a straightforward relationship for many people, but let's dig deeper into it. Our home, planet Earth, is a special place. Earth has a unique environment that has enabled and sustained life not found anywhere else in our solar system. However, as our civilization has developed, we have started controlling nature and using it as a personal commodity to be owned and discarded. This is where and why the phrase environmental sustainability comes into place. Sustainability is a term used in many ways and has many definitions. But one of the definitions that resonates the most for environmental sustainability is this. Sustainability is the ability for our current generation to meet our needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. The environment is affected by everything we do. The way we raise our food, the way we transport ourselves, the use of natural resources for the materials we use every day, especially those we only use once. Everything we use, breathe, eat, and dispose of is part of an environmental cycle that utilizes the planet's natural resources of chemical elements, water, and heat. Our human population on this planet has grown from 1 billion to 7 billion people in just 200 years. This has put a tremendous strain on our resources and disrupted the Earth's natural cycle. The biggest challenge we face today is the sustainability of our environment for the future, not just for our environment and our planet, but also of ourselves. We are putting the ability of our future generations to meet their needs at risk through our current actions. Will we still have the planet that supports these incredible systems and cycles in the future if we have knocked it so off kilter that it recovers in a way that does not support our own species? It is a question we would like to avoid finding out the answer. But with that said, one of the wonderful things about human beings is our ability to learn about and understand our impact on our own environment. When we know the impact, we can act. We can conserve, we can preserve, and we can serve our own interests in a way that helps us achieve environmental sustainability, not just for us today, but for those living tomorrow. Well, now that we have a better understanding about the relationship that exists between sustainability and our environment, let's look at the relationship between sustainability and human health. There has been a lot of interest in fighting climate change through environmental sustainability, but the connection between sustainability and our health has not gained as much momentum. Depending on how the environment affects air, water, and food, it can have a positive or negative impact on your overall quality of life and longevity. Growing environmental pollution can mean a shorter life expectancy. It causes a higher number of people affected by heart disease, stroke, and cancer. From the air we breathe to the water we drink and use, life on Earth depends on the natural resources and the environment around us. Sustainability aims to promote healthy, viable, and equitable communities. We have all heard that being healthy means eating fruits and vegetables and getting regular exercise. But we rarely hear about how the lack of sustainable practices in food system and consumerism affect our physical and mental health. According to the World Health Organization, 1.3 million deaths occur each year because of urban air pollution. Additionally, the main reason people buy green products is because they want to do their part to combat climate change. We must move past the idea that we use green products like detergents and cleaners to fight climate change and understand that the chemicals we use to wash our hair and clean our dishes affect our health for better or for worse. Despite substantial scientific evidence linking diets and human health and environmental sustainability, historically, there has been a lack of global agreed upon targets for healthy diets and sustainable food production. In 2019, a group of 37 scientists from 16 countries assessed existing evidence and developed global scientific targets that defined a safe operating space for food systems. These targets focus on healthy diets and sustainable food production. To achieve these, the researchers suggest a planetary health diet, with consumption ranges from each food group. This is a flexible dietary pattern that consists of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and unsaturated oils. It also includes a low to moderate amount of seafood and poultry, and a no or low quantity of red meat, processed meat, added sugar, refined grains, and starchy vegetables. If people adopted these patterns of eating, they would see major health benefits, including a significant reduction on total mortality. The second target is sustainable food production. With current food production driving climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, and unsustainable changes in water and land use, staying within set production boundaries would decrease the risk of irreversible and potentially catastrophic shifts on Earth systems. All right, well, now we are going to discuss sustainability and wellness. I am sure that nobody will be surprised if I say that things are tough these days. Things are quite overwhelming. I am lucky enough to say that I still have a job, but I worry for those who are not as lucky. I worry about my family and friends' well-being and health, as I am sure you do too. Our lives have dramatically changed since March, being our ability to physically be with each other one of the most impacted areas. And while this might not be very important for some people, the truth is that this isolation has a negative impact in our lives. You see, humans are social creatures, some more than others, but we all enjoy and need each other to a degree. During a pandemic, socializing in large groups is more difficult. Because we are spending more time alone and with limited number of friends and family around us, our mental health has become an important conversation. This has highlighted the importance of having access to green spaces and nature in our communities. Our wellness, that means the practice of keeping good habits for our physical and mental health, increases when we are connected to nature. When we do not have access to nature, we can begin to feel frustrated, confused, and stuck. The sense of connection with nature is key for us to feel at peace. It also gives us energy and motivates us to work, study, and be at our best. I invite you to take a moment this weekend and go for a walk. Enjoy a moment with yourself and Mother Nature. All right, so let's talk about something that is in our minds all the time these days. Pandemics. How are they related to sustainability? Well, the framework for action on sustainability fronts, such as the environment, human health, and wellness, and indeed the results of these actions, have direct links to successfully controlling and preventing pandemics such as COVID-19. The strategies, tactics, and tools used to shape our understanding and attack against COVID-19 can be effective and necessary to achieve essential sustainability goals. And success in sustainability programs can have direct impact on the development, spread, and intensity of pandemic disease. The intensity, well-resourced, and cooperative attack of COVID-19 provides a model for similar efforts in sustainability. Slowing and preventing the impacts in sustainability areas such as climate change-driven deforestation, water shortage, foods, ice cap melting, and carbon pollution can prevent or slow the spread of COVID-19-like diseases. Attacking water and landfill pollution caused by medically contaminated plastic waste or by spread of bacteria in sewage treatment plants prevents downstream contamination and disease transmission in our food chain. Providing humans adequate and healthy nutrition can prevent the underlying conditions that make a disease like COVID-19 so deadly. There is no question that sustainability and diseases such as COVID-19 have an interdependent relationship that can be successfully used to create a world with the resources and environment to mitigate the impact of such future pandemics. All right, well, that was a lot of information. But we hope what you learned will help you understand the world a little better. We hope that this information will inspire you to use your decision-making powers to protect our environment, health, and wellness. Now that we have a better understanding about sustainability and its relationship with our environment, health, and wellness, I want to continue to have this conversation with three great guests. This roundtable is special because all of our guests are commissioners from the Little Rock Sustainability Commission. All our three guests are members of the Environment, Health, and Wellness Commission team. They are residents of Little Rock that, along with me, work hard to advise the city in sustainable initiatives. So Lenny Messer-Lenny, the Recycling and Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Little Rock, will read our guest bios and I will facilitate the conversation. Hi Lenny, thank you for being here with us.
Hi Karen, happy to be here. Our first guest is Uda Meyer. Uda is the chair of our Environment, Health, and Wellness team at the Commission. Uda grew up in Mountain Home, Arkansas, and has called Arkansas home again since 2013. She graduated from the University of Central Arkansas in 2011 with the Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science and Math. She completed her master's degree at New York University in Environmental Conservation Education in 2012. Uda joined Audubon, Arkansas in February 2013. She currently works as Center Manager for Audubon, Arkansas at the Little Rock Audubon Center. In this position, Uda develops and implements K-12 environmental education programs and resources and engages the public in Audubon's on-the-ground conservation work. She lives in Little Rock with her husband and son. Hi Uda, thank you for being here. Our next guest is Malik Safir. Malik is one of our newest commissioners at the Sustainability Commission. He is the president and CEO of the Southern Renaissance in Little Rock, Arkansas. The Southern Renaissance trains and educates business, government, and nonprofit leaders on how to end poverty locally and globally. His work is devoted to comprehensively eradicating poverty through the climate and environmental justice movement. Malik received a Master of Divinity from Vanderbilt University, where he was a Kelly Miller Smith Scholar and graduated with honors. He also holds a Master of Adult Education from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Malik is an alumnus of the Green Faith Fellowship Program and Toyota Together Green Fellowship Program. Hi Malik, thank you for being here. Our third guest is Rachel Furman. Rachel, a certified hazardous materials manager, is the senior environmental manager at L'Oreal's largest cosmetics manufacturing plant in the world, located in North Little Rock, Arkansas. She has a Bachelor of Science in Biology from Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. Rachel is currently enrolled in a master's program at the University of Wisconsin for Sustainable Management. She's been working in environmental compliance and sustainability roles at manufacturing and distribution sites for 14 years. Rachel has been with L'Oreal for over 6 years and helps coordinate implementation of L'Oreal's sustainability program called Sharing Beauty with All, including projects to reduce waste generation, water consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, and energy intensity. And she supports local biodiversity and community involvement in sustainability topics. Welcome, Rachel.
All right, well, thanks everyone, and welcome. We are extremely happy that you are all participating in this roundtable. I want to start the conversation by asking you how you became so interested in the subject on sustainability, and around how old were you? Let's start with you, Uta.
Hi, Karen and Lenny. Thanks so much for having me. As far as how old I was when I first really became interested in sustainability, I spent a lot of time outdoors when I was younger and spent a lot of time in the woods just throughout my childhood. I didn't really dig deeper into environmental science and ecology and what all that means for sustainability until I took a environmental science class in high school. So after that, that kind of led me to volunteering, getting more involved with current events and local and state policy, getting involved with organizations like, local chapters of the Sierra Club and Audubon and different things. So really high school is probably a turning point for me, and that kind of led me to pursue it as a career after.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for sharing that with us. What about you, Malik? What do you think?
Yeah, so I got involved with the movement actually my last year in divinity school. At that time, I was looking at liberation theology as a platform to engage people of faith around the concept of social justice. And in my exploration and research, I also discovered that that environmental justice was also an aspect of how we interact with each other from a social standpoint. And so I got interested in how is it that our physical health and our public health impact how we treat each other in unjust ways. And so that's one of the ways in which I got involved, is from the understanding of how the environment impacts our personal behavior.
Great. Thank you, Malik. And what about you, Rachel? How did you become so interested in the subject of sustainability?
Thank you for having me. So for me, I would say my story is pretty similar to Uda's. I, grew up spending a lot of time outdoors, kind of in the country, and just really enjoyed nature. And that was always a big focus and interest of mine. And it led me to pursue a degree in biology. But really, while I was in college, I took a class that was actually a master's level class at the time, but I ended up taking it as an undergrad just to fulfill a specific requirement. And it was a class called human impact on ecosystems, and it basically covered all the different cycles in nature, and showed we read papers and did research on how humans were impacting all these different cycles of nature. And I think that's really what led me to become more interested, not just in science, but the actual sustainability behind, in science. So that was really a turning point for me, because that class really led straight into an internship that I did at a manufacturing site, where I was responsible for sustainability topics like just, recycling and reducing emissions and things like that. So kind of just those fed into each other, and from there I've had a big passion for sustainability since then.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. All right, well, sustainability is a subject that many people know a lot about, but others may not know so much about. I am curious on how you bring the message of sustainability to your community, family, and work, and also what is the most challenging part of it? Uda, let's start with you.
Sure. So I think this is a really important question, and for me, both personally and professionally, I think it's all about meeting people where they are. We all, come at different issues from different places, not just in our lives. As far as, are we younger? Are we older? Do we have families? Are we single? All those things definitely influence how we make decisions and which decisions are most important to us. I think anyone can definitely play a role in sustainability, and if you're as interested in it and have a job in the field, like I do, and like everybody on this call does, I think it's important to remember that not everyone is going to be in the same place as you are, and maybe isn't ready to take big steps. And I think letting people know that there are lots and lots of ways to really have an impact, even if you only do a handful of them, or if you only do one of them, that's already a effective and significant way to play a role in the sustainability movement. And that's really, just in my own family, I think there are different levels of engagement with lots of things. Sustainability is one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think being sort of the go-to person that people can ask questions of, and I can, answer those questions. And if I don't know the answer, connect them with somebody that's more knowledgeable in a certain area. So I think, meeting people where they are and being supportive of that and not judgmental of, how that might be different from what I'm doing, I think is really important and makes that more of a conversation discussion than a conflict, which especially in times like these, there's lots of political discussion and conflict. So I think making it a conversation is really crucial to keep everybody open-minded.
Great. Thank you, Uta. Malik, what about you?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I came into the conversation around sustainability through looking at the connection between social justice and environmental justice. And what I discovered is that environmental justice looks at the total life of the community from the standpoint of where people, the spaces in which they learn, the spaces in which they live, the spaces in which they work, the spaces in which they heal, the spaces in which they play, the recreational spaces, as well as in the context of the Black community, the spaces in which they worship. And so with environmental justice, I was able to go back to my community and talk about sustainability from the standpoint of in our schools, how are we relating to our environment? Where we live, how are we relating to our environment in our homes? Where we work, how are we relating to the environment in our workplace? How is it connecting us back to sustainability? And then also how we heal. How do we come up with a prospect of healing that deals with not sickness care, but prevention of sicknesses? And then when we looked at our worship spaces, how do we talk about how are we protecting the environment, or how we consume or conserve energy in these spaces that we worship? And then also, how often do we get outside? We go outdoors and enjoy the outdoors in a way that shows that we are not only just stewards of the environment, but lovers of the environment. And so I use environmental justice as a starting point to show that we can't get outside of our environment. And if we're very much intimately connected to our environment, then how do we become intentional about how we relate to it in all these various spaces?
Yeah, that's 100%. I 100% agree with you. What is the most challenging part that you face when it comes to bringing the message of sustainability to communities?
As far as me personally, I think the challenge goes back to how I originally discovered environmental justice and sustainability, is that in particularly low-income Black communities, the need to survive, the need to live with not a living wage, and to live and struggle for things that we shouldn't have to struggle for as it relates to our civil rights, have kept a lot of people in low-income Black communities facing these everyday challenges that they in many ways begin to say, well, how can I think about eating healthy food when I'm just trying to get food? How can I think about having an energy efficient home? I'm just trying to find a home. So these kind of challenges are always present, and when you're dealing with trying to bridge the divide between the social justice and environmental justice movement, and then until we deal with these challenges and resolve them in a just way, they're going to always be there for us.
Great, thanks, Malik, for that insight. Rachel, what about you?
Yeah, so I would say as far as how to bring the message of sustainability, I think echoing back to what Uta said about, what can one person do? Sometimes whenever we look at sustainability issues, everything seems a little overwhelming because there's just so many challenges, and the way that our culture and our consumerism has grown, over the past 40 years or so, we now live in a culture that sustainability is not easy because we've made, like I said, consumerism kind of our main focus. Our economy is completely centered around consumerism. So how do you fight that? But I think there's kind of a message at my work that we use, and it's called "Be the Hummingbird," and it echoes a story about a hummingbird that was helping to fight a forest fire by going and taking a drop of water from a river and then bringing it back and putting it on the fire. obviously seems a little, silly because it wouldn't necessarily put out the fire, but the message of the hummingbird was that I'm doing what I can. So I think that's kind of the premise that we have to think about, like, what are the small things that you can do? So really, when I try to speak to people about sustainability, it's like I said, easy to get overwhelmed. So that the thought is to just focus on what are the one or two things that you can do to help towards the cause.
Great. Awesome, Rachel. Thank you. Our next question is about how do you practice sustainability? What are those things that you do in your everyday life that promote sustainability and helps your health, your human health? Uta, let's start with you.
Sure. So I think, there are certainly products that I've chosen to purchase that are just always on my grocery list now that are things that I think, based on research and recommendations from other people, that I think are better than other options. So I definitely do try and make those types of choices. I think a major focus in the last several years for me, and this speaks to both my human health from a physical standpoint, kind of long term, and for greater human health, but also just sort of peace in mind and being able to use my own backyard as kind of a space where I can relax and kind of build my own green space. And I've done that by incorporating native plants into the landscape, removing invasives, and trying to kind of holistically make that almost like a little micro habitat for birds and insects and other wildlife. And I think being able to have that space has been good for me, especially during COVID-19 and spending a lot more time closer to home, if not just at home. It's been nice to kind of have that space created around me a little bit, and I think it can create a good model in a neighborhood. Just planting things, spending time outside. I think you talk more to people if you spend time outside that are also spending time in their yard, and I think it's been a really great way, kind of echoing back to what I said previously, to kind of start conversation. If people see me planting a lot, they want to ask questions and they want to know why I'm doing that. And I think, I think that's a really kind of important part to recognize when we do these actions, whether it's being in the store and buying a good product, or when we're planting in the yard or something like that, that folks they're watching and looking, and they might ask questions. So it's a good opportunity for discussion.
Great. Thank you, Uta. What about you, Malik? Malik, are you here?
I approach wellness from the standpoint, especially wellness. I mean, we are in the natural state, and what I've tried to do as someone who was born and raised in Little Rock and has traveled in many parts of the state, is try to, and whenever I'm traveling in the state or even in Little Rock, always try to visit some of the natural recreational spaces that we have that are designated to biking or walking, or farmers markets that we have sponsored throughout the city, community gardens. These are some of the things that I do to try to stay connected to not only my home, but also to the ways in which my home reconnects me to the environment. So these are some just regular practices that I do every day of my life as Arkansan.
Thank you, Malik. And what about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of just everyday things that anybody can do, but some of the things that really I know that I've gotten better at throughout the years, for sure, using reusable bags is one. I've just been in the habit for several years now of not using plastic bags for my groceries or for other purchases. I always have reusable bags with me. I try to bike and walk to places if I can versus driving. And I think we have several neighborhoods in Little Rock that are very pedestrian friendly for that, but not everywhere is. So that's one thing that I think we could do better. But as far as other things, of course, basically, if there is a greener, quote unquote greener product, in some cases, that I definitely will choose to purchase that if I believe that it is actually better for the environment. Sometimes you do have to do a little research and make sure, but in general, I would say reducing my single-use plastic is probably one of the biggest focuses for me.
Great. All right, Rachel. Thank you. So we are in the natural estate, and Little Rock, as it is the capital, has many recreational opportunities. What is one wellness practice specific to Little Rock that you enjoy taking part in, and practices that you would like to see implemented in our beautiful city? Uta, let's start with you.
Yes, I think one of the things that I think we forget as Little Rock residents, because we do kind of live in our own bubble a little bit. I mean, especially right now with the pandemic, like I said, everybody's at home or closer to home for the most part. But I think, the city of Little Rock has over 60 city parks that are all over the city. A lot of them are smaller community parks. And a lot of them have really great amenities for walking, for hiking, for even access to Fush Creek and different tributaries. I think really educating the residents more about where those parks are and what you can do there and what neighborhoods those parks are in. A lot of our communities have a historic context in the city, and I think visiting a neighborhood park where something notable happened, or where they're in a community where something notable happened, would really I think help our sense of place as Little Rock residents. And the city of Little Rock Parks and Recreation Department does a lot to get that word out there, but I think letting other groups be involved in that work as well, and other groups supporting the parks and recreation in their public engagement would be really helpful. And I think, if you don't know what your neighborhood park is, you can visit the website and find out, but there are many that are close to most of us that we're really not taking advantage of, that could be a benefit to our mental health during quote unquote normal times, but especially right now.
Yes, very true. Thank you, Uta. Malik, what about you?
Yes, I think that, for me, there's always been a challenge. One of the reasons I joined the sustainability community here in Little Rock was because I saw a need for many of the low-income Black communities that I worked with were in many ways needing more access to bike lanes, more access to gardens in the communities where they can come and they can congregate, they can have events, they can fellowship. And I see that we have so many of these opportunities in other parts of the city, but when it comes to low-income communities, and particularly in my field, Black communities, there's still a need to try to expand some of those offerings. And so part of the work that I do is making sure that we're capable of giving the best that Arkansas has to offer from the standpoint of nature and access to nature to everybody, even if in many ways your income says that you should not have access or you should not be able to afford this. So that's how I approach the natural spaces of our state.
Great. Thanks, Malik. And finally, what about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I would say kind of pretty much along the same lines as what's already been said. One of my favorite pastimes is biking. And when I moved to Little Rock, I was very impressed with a lot of the biking opportunities that we have here, both mountain biking and road. But I think that as Northwest Arkansas has probably shown us the way, there's a lot more opportunity to incorporate trails and bike paths and bike lanes into the entire city that really would help connect us. And it really benefits us in multiple ways. It's, from a wellness standpoint, just getting out and riding your bike is definitely a good thing for your health, but also it's really good for commuters and it's good for the environment, because if you're not driving, you're reducing those fossil fuel emissions. So there's a lot of opportunity I see, but I also do appreciate what we do have here. I think that Little Rock is a beautiful city with a lot of opportunity and things for people to do in terms of biking. And it's been interesting just within the pandemic to see how many more people are taking advantage of the outdoors in Little Rock. And I really hope to see that continue into the future.
Great. I second that very much. All right. So our last question is, what is one topic of sustainability or environmental sustainability that you find most interesting, and how it has affected your behavior? Uta, let's start with you.
so I think sustainability is unique because of just how everything is connected. It's essentially the ecology of our human world or human policy world. And I think to kind of echo some of what Malik has been saying, and to kind of get back to my answer as far as community parks and neighborhood spaces, my previous answer about city parks, I think sustainability in a lot of ways offers really great opportunities to advocate not just for yourself, but for other people as well. So, if you have a really great neighborhood park that you frequently visit, but you visit another park and it just is not to the same standard, and I'm using parks as an example here, but I think you have a really good opportunity there to advocate for a better space, or a cleaned up space, or more trails, or whatever you think is lacking. And you also have an opportunity to connect with the community, either through a neighborhood association or some other group, to really see, how they feel about their neighborhood park. And if you are totally satisfied with a community space and somebody else isn't, when we're speaking about environment, health, and wellness, you have a really great opportunity to help advocate with a group that is maybe needing support in that area. So I think sometimes, especially when we're in our teams or in our different sectors, we forget just how interconnected everything is. And I think environmental health and wellness kind of brings all that together. So that's definitely, I think, the topic, like you said, a topic, environmental sustainability, that I think is the most impactful. And I think it's something we forget sometimes.
Right. Thank you, Tam. What about you, Malik?
Yeah, so I agree with what the other panelists have said. I am very much concerned about how we care for the environment, and how that caring for the environment is connected to how we care for our bodies. And so one topic that I have been advocating for over 12 years here in Arkansas is food justice, because our food is essential as far as showing us what we're putting into our environment from the standpoint of environmental toxins, and also what we're putting into our bodies from the standpoint of environmental toxins. And we cannot sustain a healthy community or a healthy planet if we're poisoning our ecosystems, and we cannot sustain a healthy body if we're poisoning our body ecosystem. And so I just see that topic of food justice has made me modify my behavior as it relates to eating a lot of meat, because I know that mass industrialization, as far as how we produce our meat in this world, contributes to climate change. So how much I consume meat on a regular basis impacts how much I'm contributing to the problem of climate change. And then not only that, but the fact that I'm concerned about my food also allows me to look for other alternatives as far as where am I getting my vegetables? Are they locally grown? Are they organic? Or are they filled with toxins, and that those vegetables are entering my body? And so it makes you, when you think about food justice, it makes you have to think seriously about not only the caring for the planet, but caring for our bodies in a way when we see both connected through the food that we eat.
Mm-hmm. Very, so true. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, so kind of along the same lines, I guess one topic from environmental sustainability that I really find the most interesting is just, as I've kind of already talked about, just the interconnectedness of humans with our planet. And I think what we tend to forget is how connected we are, and to, as Malik was just talking about, all the interconnections between our food and where we get our food, and the impact on the planet from how our food is made or raised. I think there's so many connections within, the cycles of life to the way that we're living our lives right now, and to the culture. And when we recognize those impacts or that connection, I think we can do more to, limit those impacts, or perhaps do them in such a way that it is more sustainable, not just for the earth, but for ourselves, because we depend on this earth, and our future depends on this earth's health in the future. So they're just that overall connection or theme of connection, I think, is the thing that I find the most interesting, because no matter what part of your life you may be really focused on, there's always going to be some way that it connects back to the environment and to nature. And so really, as far as affecting my behavior, I think that's just something that I always have in the back of my mind. If I'm making decisions about anything, buying something, going somewhere, doing some sort of trip, or having an experience of some sort. Those are all things that I think about. How does this impact the environment, and how can I do it in a way that it's less impact?
Great. Yes, very true. Well, our time together has come to an end, but I want to thank all of you for your time, your passion, and for the work that you do for the city of Little Rock. Bye, Uta, and thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Sure, Malik. Bye, Malik. And bye, Rachel.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Bye-bye. We also want to highlight another commissioner who is not here with us today, but who is also an active member of the Environment, Health, and Wellness team, Casey Sheppard. Casey did a lot of research for today's show, and along with Uta, Malik, and Rachel, is an active member of the commission. Lenny will help us read her bio.
Yeah, so Casey Sheppard is an environmental engineer with Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation. She is the founder and the president of the Cooperative Green Team, a group committed to promoting sustainable practices on Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation's main campus in Little Rock and volunteering in the community. Casey also serves as a steering committee member for Plastic Free Little Rock and the Arkansas Monarch Conservation Partnership. Additionally, Casey is co-chair of the publicly owned utility working group of the Electric Power Research Institute's Energy Sustainability Interest Group, where she has engaged with sustainability professionals in the electric industry from across the nation. And she is passionate about sharing these best practices and progressing sustainability in Arkansas's capital city. Thank you, Casey, for your service to the Commission and the City of Little Rock.
Thank you, Lenny. All right, so the following section is one that I like very much, a look around the world. The cities that we highlight in this segment are cities that are doing great work in a specific field in sustainability. I like this section because it is a way for us to learn about other parts of the world geography, and a little bit about world history. Of course, aside from learning about these cities' sustainable initiatives. So today we are traveling to a very cool and interesting place. We are going to be talking about Singapore. Do you all know where Singapore is? Singapore is in Southeast Asia. It is a tiny city-state, and that means that the whole country is the city of Singapore, and the city of Singapore is the country. Interesting, isn't it? Well, Singapore has about 5.7 million residents. It is a very modern city. I had the opportunity to travel to Singapore a couple of times, and it was mind-blowing. Because Singapore is a tiny city with a large population, they have become very innovative in supplying services to the residents. But this was not always the case. This country achieved its independence in 1965. At that time, Singapore was a city filled with slums, choked with congestion, rivers were open sewers, and they did not have enough jobs for everyone. On top of this, they didn't have enough land or natural resources. But in the past 50 years, they have built a clean, modern metropolis. So, what does Singapore look like now? Well, Singapore is now the world's most environmentally sustainable nation. Singapore has managed to balance economic, social, and environmental priorities to achieve sustainable development. We could talk about Singapore for the entire length of the show, but I want to highlight their sustainable living efforts. For generations, Singapore's leaders have had a vision of a clean, green, and sustainable Singapore. They like to say that Singapore is a city in a garden with about 47% of green cover in this city. That means that Singapore has massive trees, rooftops, gardens, parks, and green walks all over the city. Also, 80% of the homes in Singapore are only 10-minute walking distance from a park. Only 10 minutes. As we have discussed, these green areas make residents happier. It helps our sense of well-being, it helps us manage stress, and it helps us have a positive attitude towards our community. Singapore has an eye-catching structure, and some of them are the super trees. They are called gardens by the bay. These super trees have plants all over and light up at night with solar power. This innovative urban park was developed to be as sustainable as possible. Rainwater is collected for irrigation, and it also helps for cooling purposes. Because let's be real, Singapore is really hot. As you can see, there is a lot we can learn from this beautiful place in Southeast Asia. When we combine social, environmental, and financial efforts to make things better, remarkable things happen. And Singapore is the perfect example of this. All right. So we are now going to go into our last sections of the show. We're going to be talking about the sustainability tips. And the tips that we provide in this section are not only good for your health, but also good for your pocket. I am sure that saving some extra money will not hurt anyone. This week, we want to encourage you to have a meat-free day once a week or twice a week if you can. Meat is pretty expensive, and having a plant-based diet a couple of times a week will also help you with your diet, cholesterol levels, and will save you money. Also, you can create your own green products at home. Modern household cleaning products are often damaging to the environment and our health. So a great green alternative is to make some yourself. Safe, environmentally friendly substitutes use ingredients such as baking soda, soap flakes, lemon, cornstarch, and vinegar. All those things that we can find in our pantries. So today I want to teach you a simple but good homemade all-purpose cleaner. So for this one, you're gonna need a spray bottle, a small funnel, half cup of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, tea tree essential oil, and eucalyptus essential oil. So what are you going to do with all this stuff? You're gonna take off and empty the spray bottle, place the small funnel into the opening, and pour in the half cup of vinegar. You're gonna add 2 tablespoons of baking soda and wait for the foaming to subside. Add 10 drops each of the tea tree and eucalyptus essential oils, and fill the rest of the bottle with water. Screw the spray top of the bottle and shake it well before use. If you do not have the time to make cleaning products, that's all right. You can make the switch to environmental friendly options instead. Brands such as eCover are a store located on South Main Street right here in Little Rock. Well, we also have the Eco Challenge of the Week. The Eco Challenge of the Week is let's walk more in our city. Go to a local city park. With social distancing protocol in place, go and enjoy a morning with Mother Nature. Give yourself time to appreciate the beauty of life, especially during these trying times. El reto ecológico de la semana es caminar un poco más. Vayan a un parque local manteniendo el protocolo de distancia social. Vayan a disfrutar una mañana con la madre naturaleza. Date tiempo para apreciar lo hermoso que es la vida, algo que vale mucho la pena hacer, especialmente en estos momentos difíciles como los que estamos pasando. Well, friends, we are coming to the end of this episode of the Little Rock Sustainability Hour. We hope that you enjoyed listening and learning new things with us. If you are a student listening today, I invite you to talk about what you learned with your classmates. If you're not in school, I still invite you to talk about the importance of sustainability with your family, friends, and coworkers. Let us know what you think by emailing us to recycling@littlerock.org or by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget that we are on Instagram and Facebook as Sustain Little Rock. You can also use the hashtag LRCS or hashtag LRCH, Sustain LR, and Unite LR. We know things are still tough out there, but we hope that the information that we are sharing with you every week gives you ideas about how to save money, how to find calm through the storm, and how to connect with each other in more meaningful ways. Remember, we are in this together, and not only through the pandemic. We are in this planet together as sisters and brothers and stewards of Mother Nature. We can build a better, more equal, and more sustainable world and Little Rock. Let's make it happen. Until next time. Hasta luego, amigos. Nos vemos la próxima vez.